Hey guys, welcome back to the Readers. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is a pro-revenge story. This happened in 2015 when I joined a tech startup called Innovate Tech. We agreed on a salary with no paid overtime, plus evaluations at 3 months, and then annually. Pretty standard stuff. The salary was mediocre for the work, but I really loved what I did, developing AI-driven analytics tools. It was challenging and fascinating. Even though the money wasn't great, I knew I'd gain valuable experience for my future career. After 3 years with 10 solid clients and several more in trial phases, money was flowing in nicely. Mark, our CEO, called me into his office one day. "Great work on the Davidson account," he said, leaning back in his chair. "You've been putting in a lot of extra hours." "Thanks," I replied. "Speaking of which, can we discuss the overtime situation?" The conversation turned to back pay and paid overtime, plus compensation for past overtime. By then, I'd accumulated around $75K in overtime hours, a substantial amount. Legally, it couldn't be classified as back pay, so we discussed it as a discretionary bonus. Everyone seemed on board with this, including Sarah, our HR director, who documented everything in company emails. I felt secure about the situation and didn't suspect any bad faith. The company was doing well enough to afford it, and I was even open to accepting discounted equity if cash flow was tight. "We'll definitely take care of this," Mark assured me. "Just need to figure out the best approach." But the discussions dragged on for months. Finally, Mark called me in for what I thought would be the resolution. "We've come up with an equity offer," he said, sliding a paper across his desk. Looking at the numbers, I nearly choked. The company valuation was ridiculous. Hundreds of millions for a 9-person company with $2.5 million annual revenue. My proposed stake was less than 0.01%. It was clearly a calculated insult to avoid paying what they owed. "This is a joke, right?" I asked, standing up. "It's a generous offer," Mark replied firmly. "Then here's my counteroffer," I said, pulling out my resignation letter. "Effective immediately." Tom, our CTO, practically ran into Mark's office when he heard, "You can't leave now. We're in the middle of 3 major deployments." "Should have thought about that before trying to cheat me," I replied, packing my stuff. The next day, I sent a registered letter requesting my overtime payment. Their response was predictable. The bonus was discretionary and there is no overtime. But I'd already consulted with an attorney who confirmed they had no legal ground to stand on. Legal action wasn't common in our industry back then, which worked in my favor. While discussing strategy with my attorney, James, I noticed something interesting in the statute of limitations. "What if we wait until just before the 7-year limit expires?" I asked. "Why would you want to do that?" James looked puzzled. I explained about the 9% APR above the base rate, 3.5% then, compounded daily. He smiled, understanding my plan. The company grew significantly over the next few years. When we finally filed the case in 2022, the total demand had grown to $165K, including interest and penalties for each instance of unpaid overtime. Mark called me absolutely livid. "You ungrateful piece of—" I recorded every word of his tirade. In court, Judge Thompson was particularly interested in that recording. "This kind of intimidation is unacceptable," she said, glaring at Mark. She ordered immediate payment plus all legal costs and triggered a Department of Labor audit. The cherry on top? That evening, Mark apparently tried to drown his sorrows at the local bar. He ended up wrapping his brand new Tesla Model S around a tree. No one was hurt, but he got a DUI, lost his license for 6 months, and his insurance wouldn't cover the $140,000 car because he was intoxicated. Sometimes revenge is best served cold with compound interest. The next one is an entitled people's story. I never expected to become a homeowner at 27, let alone own 2 properties. It all started when my Aunt Patricia passed away last summer. She was my favorite relative growing up, the cool aunt who never married, traveled the world, and always brought me exotic souvenirs. When I learned she'd left me her house in her will, I was shocked but grateful. The house was in a quiet suburban neighborhood about 30 minutes from where I lived. I already owned a small house closer to the city where I worked, but I couldn't bring myself to sell Aunt Patricia's place. It held too many memories, and I thought maybe I could fix it up as a weekend getaway or even rent it out someday. That's when I met Karen, my aunt's next-door neighbor. At first, she seemed friendly enough, bringing over a casserole and offering condolences when I came to check on the property, but things took a weird turn fast. "Oh, you must be here about the house," she said during our first meeting. "I've already found a lovely young couple who wants to buy it. They're offering cash." I was confused. "Sorry, but the house isn't for sale. I inherited it from my aunt." Karen's smile turned cold. "Don't be silly. Patricia and I had an agreement. She told me I could handle the sale when the time came. I've already accepted their offer. What? No, that's impossible. I have the will and deed right here. I pulled out my phone to show her the documents my lawyer had emailed me. Those must be outdated. Karen waved her hand dismissively. I have papers too. The buyers are coming to sign next week. I tried to stay calm. Whatever papers you think you have aren't valid. This is my property now, legally. Please don't try to sell what isn't yours to sell. Karen's face turned red. You already have a house. It's greedy to own 2 properties when young families need homes. I promised this couple they could have it. That's not your decision to make, I said firmly. Please don't contact any more potential buyers. Over the next few weeks, Karen escalated things. She put a for sale sign in the yard when I wasn't there. She gave random people tours of the property, telling them I was just a difficult relative trying to block the sale. She even called a locksmith once, claiming to be the property manager and trying to change the locks. The final straw came when I arrived one Saturday to find a moving truck in the driveway and a family trying to enter my house with keys Karen had given them. They'd already paid her a $5,000 deposit and thought they were taking possession that day. I immediately called the police. When they arrived, Karen showed them a crude contract she'd created herself, claiming my aunt had appointed her as the property's sales agent. It was clearly forged. She hadn't even spelled Patricia's name correctly. The police advised the family to pursue legal action against Karen to recover their deposit. Then they warned Karen that she could face criminal charges for fraud and trespassing if she continued. But I wasn't done. I contacted my lawyer and filed a civil lawsuit against Karen for fraud, harassment, and intentional interference with property rights. We also got a restraining order preventing her from entering the property or representing herself as having any authority over it. During the court proceedings, we discovered Karen had pulled this scam before in another neighborhood. She'd tried to sell an elderly neighbor's house while they were in a nursing home. That family had decided not to press charges, which only emboldened her. The judge was not amused. Karen was ordered to pay back the deposit to the family she'd scammed, plus pay me $25,000 in damages. She also got hit with a $10,000 fine for contempt of court after she tried arguing with the judge about property ownership laws she'd clearly made up. The best part? Karen had to sell her own house to pay all the penalties. She moved away shortly after, and the neighborhood became much more peaceful. I ended up keeping Aunt Patricia's house and renovating it just the way she would have wanted. Now I spend most weekends there, enjoying the quiet and remembering all the good times we shared. The new neighbors who moved into Karen's old house are lovely people who understand basic property laws and respect boundaries. Sometimes we sit on my porch, drink coffee, and marvel at the audacity it takes to try selling someone else's house. The next one is a petty revenge story. Happened almost 30 years ago back in elementary school, so memory and derails are a bit hazy. Maybe 11 years old? There was a new international student in our class, Jim, and we got along fine. We both liked video games, but he eventually befriended other kids and adopted a not-so-nice attitude towards me. We went from friendly interactions to him calling me names and putting me down, complete 180. At the very last day of school, after school was over, I went to the corner store on the way home and played on the arcade machines. It was common for corner stores to have video games back in the 90s, usually head-to-head fighting games. Jim walked in and saw me playing. He decided to pop in a quarter to join in. He was from overseas and definitely better than me. Always beat me before when we played, but I got lucky that day and just ended up winning. Every time he lost, he would pop another quarter in. He was probably on tilt. He probably dropped 3 or 4 quarters on me. By now, it's probably 3:45 p.m. We're in the middle of our match, and one of our classmates walks into the store. She sees Jim and says, "Hey, your dad's looking for you. He says you're late." My memory here is hazy, but it turned out that Jim was supposed to take the bus to go home after school, possibly because they had a flight to catch at the airport. Jim started to panic and beg me for spare change. Youth bus fare was only 75 cents at the time. He spent all his change trying to beat me. I refused. He ended up getting bus fare from the store owner. The next one is a malicious compliance story. I know we all hate telemarketers, but these "can I buy your house" folks push me to a new level of annoyed. They used to give out a fake company name and say Home Builders Inc. or something. I ended up Googling it and got in contact with the actual owner of that company. I believe he was out of MN. He told me that there's a company in Egypt, of all places, that sells sales, leads to American companies slipping by the legality of combing through public records for personal information. He told me to get at the American companies. I'd need to pretend to be interested in selling my house and wait for the call from the US-based company and confront them, so that's what I did. After giving some vague info that was incorrect to the Egyptian caller, I did eventually get matched and called from someone in northern Ohio. When I explained I knew what he was doing and that it wasn't legal, he eventually hung up on me and blocked me. I called from a few different numbers until he disconnected his line. Small win, but not the story I came to tell. The calls haven't stopped, so trolling is my new favorite thing. I constantly beat them to the punch and ask to buy their house. Ask them how Egypt is or what the pyramids are like. I've tried to order pizza, put them on hold to see how long they'd last, or just change the subject completely. My biggest win was when they asked, "Do you have any other properties to sell?" I said, "In fact, I do." 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, District of Columbia. A very famous address here in the States. Somehow my Egyptian caller wasn't familiar with it and took all my information. Regrettably, I didn't have amazing information, but I did tell him it had a fenced-in yard, ton of extra bedrooms, and big round office and top-notch security system. 2 days later, I got a call. "Not sure who you are, but we'll played. I've been laughing for the last half hour. How did you convince them you owned the White House?" The first gentleman that called got the joke. He congratulated me and we had a laugh and he hung up. An hour later, I got another call from someone who wasn't laughing. "I'm trying to figure out why I got a sales lead on the White House." "Well, that's because people in Egypt, where you buy your illegal sales leads, don't know crap about America." "Yeah, well, I don't think it's funny." "Well, that's tough because I think it's hysterical. Not only did you waste money on a useless sales lead, now I'm wasting your time." He told me to go duck myself, but I'm not mad. Does anyone else have any famous addresses I should sell? The next one is an entitled people story. "Hello, I remembered this gem from a few years ago and think this will be perfect for this channel. Also, apologies for this being so long. So much happened here that I just remembered. Also, I'm a junior in high school currently on summer break, about to be a senior. This happened back in 2019 when I was in 6th grade summer break going on to 7th grade. On that day, I was invited to a pool party for my dad's friend's daughter returning from vacation in Mexico with her grandmother. We'll call the daughter Edie, entitled daughter. Well, Edie was just returning and wanted to go swimming. She just got a pool built in her backyard that looked identical to mine, just hers had a hot tub, ours did not. I expected to just go to entitled mom house, entitled mom, because she lived next door. Turns out the party wasn't at her house. I assumed this meant we would be going to a friend's house in the neighborhood, but no. We all hopped into the car to head to the public pool. I was cool with it. Thankfully, my mom gave me money for food just in case the pool party wasn't at somebody's house. We get to the pool just for entitled mom to expect us to pay for our own bracelets. I'm cool with it due to having my own money, but I was confused. I assumed since she invited us out, she was paying for us. I pay for my ticket, but I turn to see my friends. I'll call them Esmeralda and Ashley. Esmeralda is the younger one of the sisters close to ED age, and the older sister Ashley is about my age. They both didn't bring any money because we thought we were swimming at somebody's house and not a public pool. Entitled mom started scolding them and paid mumbling about how their mom owes them now. Isabella, the youngest there, paid for herself because her family had gave her money. Lastly, Edie, older cousin by 3 years, was paid for only because he's family and his mom was sending money to his aunt when he stayed there. So we finally get in, and I'm really hungry and decided I'm going to eat first because I skipped breakfast, I think. I got a lot of food due to my mom giving me $20. From what I remember, I got a hot dog, some chips, ice cream, and slushie. I understand how crazy it was that I ate that, but I had some issues at the time at home. To sum it, because I don't feel like getting too into it, basically. To sum it up, I ate whatever I wanted when I wasn't home because my family was controlling over food. I also had health issues that made me eat more plus medication. Anyways, entitled mom looked at me in disgust and said, "You shouldn't eat all that because..." She wandered off. I knew what she was trying to say, but she remembered that my dad is friends with her fiancé, and if she said what she was planning to say, it can cause issues. So she remembered something that she thought would work. She said, "Your mom wouldn't be okay with you eating all that," I responded, but I don't recall what it was that I told her. I got into the pool after eating and played in the water for a bit. Every time I lightly splashed my friend Ashley or ED, entitled mom would get mad and yell at me and Ashley because we were the oldest and should act our age. We were also then expected to watch the little kids and follow them around. Me and Ashley didn't want to, but did so because it got embarrassing being stared at by everyone when entitled mom would yell at us. Me and Ashley barely got to do what we wanted in the pool. Mind you, me and Ashley are in 6th and 7th grade watching a 4th grader, 3rd grader, and a 2nd grader, instead of enjoying the pool. If me and Ashley knew we were going to be used as unpaid babysitters, we would have stayed home and swam at my house. The kids got out of the pool because they got hungry. So we followed. I also wanted a popsicle because it hit 103 degrees at that time. When we first got to the pool, it was about 95 degrees. Entitled mom side-eyed me and said, "You don't need any more food because I ate 4 hours ago." We were at this pool for about 9 hours in total. I said I know, but I just want a popsicle. So she allowed me to take my coin purse back and buy one. At first she said I have to give the other kids the rest of my money so they can eat. I lied and said popsicles were $2 and I only have 2 left. Entitled Mom got upset and scolded me, saying I shouldn't have gotten all that food and now the other wouldn't get to eat. I brought my own money and so did Isabella. Entitled Mom pulled out $5 and told them to share, but when Isabella refused the money, saying she had her own, Entitled Mom asked how much she had, and she said she had $30 or $40, but her mom said it's only for her and to return the rest to her mom. Entitled Mom took back her $5 and said Isabella has to pay for all the kids because she has the most money and her mom would be fine with it. Also, Entitled Mom never paid back Isabella's mom. The kids cost her $30. I got a popsicle and I bought the last Sour Patch Kids, which was for my older brother because he was super nice to me that week. I enjoyed 2 popsicles and placed the candy in my bag secretly because I didn't want to let the other kids see the candy. Entitled Mom shamed Jack, Isabella, ED, and Esmeralda for what they got. I shared with Ashley some of my food because we were super close. Entitled Mom was mad that I didn't share with her daughter ED. We went swimming again afterwards and came back a few hours later to Entitled Mom complaining about random stuff, then wanting to leave. So we packed up our stuff and Ashley was complaining about hunger too. Me quietly too, not be scolded by Entitled Mom for not making Isabella pay for her meal. So I gave her a few Sour Patch Kids because I accidentally opened the box when I grabbed my clothes. I put the box back quietly, and then I turned to Entitled Mom, who was shaming me for buying candy and not sharing with the other kids. She then says, OP, you need to share with the other kids because you ate enough for today. When the other kids heard I had candy, they all ran up begging for candy. When I tried to explain to Entitled Mom the candy is mainly for my brother, she accused me of lying and said I had to share. The kids ran to my bag and excited for candy, and Entitled Mom took the candy from my bag and shared it between all the kids. After give the kids handfuls of candy, she gave me and Ashley 3 pieces each for being greedy. The only thing that kept me looking forward to this day was going to pick up ice cream at an ice cream shop. As soon as we got close though, Entitled Mom said we don't deserve ice cream and said we will get some at her house. As soon as we get there, we got mini otter pops. Ashley declined because she wanted ice cream and went home to get some from her house. Everyone else, shockingly enough, including me, got an otter pop. Only half though because we didn't deserve a full otter pop. It was also the mini otter pops. I went home disappointed but didn't tell my parents for fear of getting in trouble for the food I ate. The next one is an entitled parent story. For context, I, 18F, work at a coffee shop in a very small, very popular beach tourist town. I've been working there since March. The way that we make our coffee is that our small and medium sizes gets 2 shots of espresso and the large has 4 shots. We do offer decaf espresso drinks. We have 4 stations when it comes to making the drinks: cashier, cup prep food runner, espresso, and mixer server. Mixer server was where I was working this day. Story: I'm working my usual busy shift during 4th of July week. As I was finishing up the entitled mother drinks, she saw me pour 4 shots of espresso into one of her large drinks, and this is the conversation that happened after. She had ordered 2 large iced caramel macchiatos, 1 large latte with ice on the side, and 1 large hot Americano. Entitled Mom: excuse me, how much espresso did you just put in that drink? Me: our large drinks come with 4 shots of espresso, ma'am. Entitled Mom: all of the larges have 4 shots of espresso. Shouldn't you advertise that crap somewhere? I'm a mother with 2 children, and you expecting the drink basically 2 cups of coffee. Me: I look behind her and see 2 young girls, probably aged 9, 12. They had each ordered 2 large caramel macchiatos. I'm sorry, ma'am, do you want me to remake these and make these decaf so they don't have any caffeine in it? Entitled Mom: I don't know, this is your job. Can you just mix one of them and put it in a smaller cup? I mean, this is outrageous. How do you expect 2 little girls to finish 2 large coffees? I mean, this is completely insane. Are you ducking crazy? At this point, my shift lead, 18F, who is standing next to me the whole time and had heard the whole entire conversation, asked if everything was all right. I try to explain this situation, but the entitled mother cut me off and rants for a bit about how incompetent I am. We decide to split one of the caramel macchiatos just to appease her and get her moving because this commotion was making a line. I'm making her final drink, she's still staring at me like I'm the devil, and I say in my very nice customer service voice, me: have a nice day, ma'am. Entitled Mom: I still haven't gotten my finally drink. She yells this directly in my face, as her final drink is halfway in between me and her in my hand. At this point, I've gotten a little behind on my station, and I turn to finish that. She gathers her kids and her drinks and walked away. So in total, she had gotten 2 medium caramel macchiato, her large latte, her Americano, and she took the other large caramel macchiato that she had originally ordered, which is why she was angry in the first place. So instead of walking away with her original 4 drinks, she got 5 instead. I just found it funny and laughed with my shift lead while she was extremely pissed on my behalf, lol. I just don't understand why she didn't ask for this when she was talking to the cashier. We have alternatives and smaller size. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.